Okay, data scientists, welcome back to our lecture 3 of 4 for our statistics for data science, section MSDS 531 A01 for our fall 2025 first by term. Okay, now we're going to go into this week seven's material. Yay! So we're going to go ahead and move forward with our overview for this week. As we all know, that the overview is, in fact, our deliverables that I'm expecting out of you guys, because this is going to be a great week because we have those 4 assignments, as I previously mentioned. So let's go right into it, guys, because I want to go ahead and make sure that we understand the learning material first. And then when we come back for our final lecture 4 we would then go into the actual assignments, those 4 assignments that I'm expecting out of you guys for this great week, because we did such a great job in the previous week that I just previously discussed, week 6. So, with that being said, let's look at this objective, guys, because I really want to make sure that you guys understand how everything is carrying over from the previous week 6. Okay, so the overview, which is going to be your deliverables, I'm going to paraphrase it and put it in the announcement board like I always do. And you guys are going to see, oh, those deliverables are very familiar. Yes, it came from the overview. So I'm going to read this off to you, but just be mindful, as always, you're going to see it again as the expectation from this week 7 that you guys understood exactly what was being spoke from the author in regard to the overview of what this week 7 was all about, thus the deliverables. Okay, so you're going to have this in your hip pocket. Okay, so make sure you understand this overview, because you will see it again. And then that's going to be your checklist items, okay, in regard to deliverables, okay? You got to make sure those checklist items are all taken care of, because you will see it on one of your assignments, actually several of your assignments because we have 4 assignments this week for this week 7, okay? All righty, so the overview is conveying to my wonderful scholar practitioner leaders one successful model of statistical machine learning is ensemble learning. Okay, so get familiar with that ensemble learning. You guys are going to really appreciate that, which uses many models to form a prediction. Okay, the development of ensemble methods of bagging and boosting in the 1990s established the foundation of statistical machine learning. Okay, you guys will read up on that shortly. The strategy of averaging or taking the majority votes results of multiple models turns out to be more accurate than just selecting results from one model. Okay. So, with that being said, unsupervised learning constructs a model of data, but it does not distinguish between a response variable and predictor variables. There's that carryover I was telling you guys about from week 6. Okay. So, with unsupervised learning, we can create a predictive rule in the absence of a label or response. So, and in doing so, we can identify meaningful groups of data. Clustering is a technique. You're going to learn all about clustering this week as we move forward. I'm going to talk about that shortly. Clustering is, in fact, a technique to divide data into different groups. K means, we all know about K's means. Again, that's carryover. K mean was among the first clustering methods to be developed, and hierarchical clustering. You guys are going to know about hierarchical clustering in this week. You guys will see that in your readings for this ensuing week 7. So again, I'm going to read that again. K-means was among the first clustering methods to be developed, and hierarchical clustering is an alternative to K-means that can divide or can yield very different clusters. Okay. All right. So that's always remember that, guys. K means can yield very different clusters. And that is so true. So you guys will read up on that. So just remember, this overview is in fact your deliverables for this ensuing week 7. Okay. So there's 5 takeaways from this week 7 that you're going to have to understand and make sure you got it to coincide with my deliverables from that overview. Okay. The 5 things from this module is: make sure that you're able to explain the difference between bagging and random force. Okay, you guys are going to read up on it. Take good notes on that, okay, in your book. Second of 5 items, apply general boosting techniques. You're going to read and understand that. The author really does a tremendous job making that really simplistic for you. You're going to appreciate that. Thirdly, learn how to reduce overfitting. Fourthly, explain K-means algorithm. You guys got a good understanding from that in week 6. Now it's all about explaining the K-means algorithm. Okay. And then last but not least, 5 of 5, you're going to list the differences between K-means and that therefore mentioned hierarchical clustering. Okay. So you're going to have to be able to differentiate, guys. And that's one thing about our course, if you hadn't figured that out already. All these different methods, all these different ways of looking at things. It's all about making sure you're able to understand how to use that type of application, thus differentiating. Okay. You got to always understand how to differentiate one type from another. Same thing, no different than K-means and hierarchical clustering. Understanding the differences between those two and how to apply it when you come across that in your data sets. Okay. All righty. So those are your module objectives for this week 7, as well as my deliverables that came from the overview. So you guys should be good to go with that. And I'm just thinking of anything else I want to give you before I jump into the book material in regard to the modules as well as the my deliverables that I presented in that overview. I don't think so, guys. I pretty much sort of beat that really to death for you guys. Okay. All right. Okay. So yes. So make sure I do want to reemphasize the module objectives. Okay. Those 5 areas I just spoke on. Okay. List the differences between K-means and hierarchical clustering. Explain K-means algorithm. Learn how to reduce overfitting. Apply general boosting techniques, and last but not least, explain the difference between bagging and random force. Take great notes from chapter 7 and 6, okay? Because we're going to have 2 sections we're going to have to look at this week. Again, that carryover from week 6 in chapter 6, but we're going to be looking at a different section in chapter 6 from our book, okay? From our Practical Statistics for Data Science, our SML or Statistical Machine Learning section again. But this time we're going to go into the boosting and bagging of the random forest. So we're looking at those 2. And I know we looked at that SML in week 6, but we got some more sections that we're going to go into. So we're going right back to it. But this time we're looking at that, as I just mentioned, boosting and bagging with random forest. So take your time with it, guys. Again, chapter 6 is really, really busy per se. So that's why we have these carryovers, because there was a lot in chapter 6, which is now pretty much matriculated here into our week 7. Okay. Now, also, we got chapter 7 to look at this week. Okay. And now we're looking at our book, again, Practical Statistics for Data Scientists, you guys. Now we're looking at that therefore mentioned that I just spoke on, that unsupervised learning. Okay. So you're going to appreciate that, guys. That unsupervised learning is really, really cool. I previously had mentioned that in the overview that I just gave you, which is going to be in your deliverable. So this is where you get a good lay of the land on that, making sure that you understand and what that's all about. Unsupervised learning, and the way you can really get a good understanding of it is by looking in section from unsupervised learning, those sections of the K-means clustering section. Excuse me, I was looking at a note just popped up. The K-means clustering from the university, of course, and then uh, also looking at the hierarchical clustering. Okay, so we have two areas to look at when you're looking at that unsupervised learning section from our electronic book, Practical Statistics for Data Science. So again, take your time, guys, get a good understanding of K-means clustering, because you got two different types. You got the K-means and you got the hierarchical clustering. And that's what I was speaking on earlier, that you're going to get a good understanding of what clustering is all about, as I mentioned when I was discussing our overview. Okay. So we got a lot going on this week here in our week 7. We got these 4 assignments, and you got some assignments where you're going to have to get a lot of note taking. Okay. Take great notes, guys, because it's easy to get confused this week. And what I don't want is you guys being discombobulated on something because you didn't just take notes. Okay. It's one thing to read the material, digest it, but sometimes, well, a lot of times, you have to reinforce it by looking at your notes, going back, making sure that I got it. Do I understand this piece because I wrote it down? Yes, I understand it because I got it all jotted down. And those notes, as you guys have already told me, Dr. Mark, it really does pay huge dividends. Thank you so much, because I never really thought about it before. Only reason why I thought about it now, because you talk about taking notes all the time. Hence, it works, right? And it's indicative on your quiz that I saw from week 6, as well as moving forward, because we have a lot of things to do this week that I want to make sure that you guys understand the premise behind it. And that premise is taking good notes on all this material that we're doing. We got 2 chapters. Chapter 6 for bagging and the random forest, and then also boosting in chapter 6 from that SML, which came from week 6 as well as chapter 6. And then we got this chapter 7 going on about the unsupervised learning, guys. K means clustering as well as a hierarchical clustering. Differentiate, differentiate. Understand the 2 types of clustering, okay? There's not one type, there's 2 types. So don't get confused on that, guys. So that's why I'm really making sure that you understand how to differentiate, because that's everything in our course